Ghostrider is the absolutely massive wooden roller coaster towering over the ghost town section of Knott's Berry Farm in Southern California. It is an absolute monstrosity, opened in 1998, built by Custom Coasters International. In my opinion, this is one of, if not their best creation ever, but to say it was all them is a little bit deceiving. For the 2016 season, it went under a huge renovation after the ride had seriously dropped in popularity, never had a line. Knott's Berry Farm decided to turn it around and bring it back to its former glory. For that, they brought in GCI, Great Coasters International. They gave it some of their Millennium Flyer trains, a full retracking, as well as some profile changes. They removed the mid-course. Bottom line is the coaster got a lot better. Now it stands as one of the best roller coasters in California, probably the world. I never got to experience this before it underwent the retracking. My first ride on this was in 2016, but I've had the opportunity to ride this many more times since then, and this is absolutely one of my favorite wooden roller coasters. So let's take no more time and jump straight into this layout. The entrance to this ride is located right near the front of the park. It's right on the edge of Ghost Town. Even though the ride is the signature attraction of this area, most of the ride is located like outside of the park boundaries. It passes over a road, over into the parking lot area. So you really just see the lift hill and this one turnaround as that main like signature photo op when you're in this park. I mentioned how Ghostrider never used to get a line. Now it gets the longest line in the park. So this is a coaster you'll probably want to hit early or do it like right at the end of the night, or ideally both. Trust me, it's a good night ride. You'll want to do it. Once you're finally up in that station, you'll board your train. Personally, I prefer the back row, but the front is awesome too. If you have the opportunity, do try it out in both seats. You depart from the station, slowly descend down into a U-turn, building up a little bit of speed right as you engage with your lift hill. You rise up 118 feet in the air, which I mean, these days, that's not super tall for a roller coaster, but it feels a heck of a lot taller than that. I feel like it's like really tall for a wooden roller coaster, but when you especially consider like how much wood is used on this structure, 118 feet is huge. They had to double the amount of wood used for this coaster because of earthquakes in California. So it just looks like this absolutely dense monstrosity. You hit your peak and you're going to descend into a 51-degree drop. That's 108 feet in the air. And a couple things about this drop. One, it's covered, which is pretty cool. Most of that is actually done because of sound, but it also makes for a unique experience. There's not a ton of wooden roller coasters that have a covered drop. I think of like Ghostrider and California's Great America. This isn't quite as cool, but still unique. Unfortunately though, I think the cover is probably the best thing about this drop. The drop is honestly the weakest part of this attraction. Everything else past that is memorable. The drop is not. It's not profiled for airtime. It's just to build up some speed. So it looks great visually, but riding it, no one's going to walk off talking about how great that drop was. You're going to take a low bank to the left and enter this big camelback floater airtime hill. That's what goes out over the road right next to Knott's Berry Farm. It's a good like starting airtime moment. It's not the best on the attraction, even though it's the biggest hill. I feel like the second half of this ride is really where it gets crazy. The first half is a bit more big, like kind of sprawling elements. Following that, you hit your turnaround at this far end. You rise up, slow down, take kind of this scenic turnaround. It's almost like the coaster's taking a break. Like, it's not boring, but it's definitely enough where you can take a breather, build up more anticipation right before you build up some speed again. This is a fun drop off that turnaround there, better than the first drop. I wish it was as good as the drop off of that mid-course area was. That's the single best moment on the ride. I'll get to that in a second. But I just wish it was profiled maybe a little bit steeper. I think that would have done it. This next hill is pretty strange because it starts off like an airtime hill, but you're banked slightly to the right, and most of the forces that you experience are lateral, not vertical. It's very twisted, which is cool. I wish there were some negatives on this hill, but I wouldn't call it a downside of this ride. Like, in no way at all is it a bad moment. Bottom line is there's no bad moments on this coaster. But I mean, you know, it was also originally built in 1998, so the coaster still has a lot of that old school feel, but it rides like a modern day wooden roller coaster, which is what's so great about it. It's the best parts of having a CCI layout, but it feels like a GCI. That's the best way I would describe this coaster. You drop down after that moment and enter that big turnaround that's right by the station. Once again, you're going to crest up and take a scenic turnaround. This one's going to give you a view of the park. And this is where the mid-course brake run used to be. The coaster would slow down and then you would crawl down the drop, building up more speed through the rest of the layout. But instead, you enter a flat section of track, you do not slow down at all, and then you haul through the end. And this single moment right here is why I think this is a back row ride. When you drop off this mid-course, it feels like you are falling forever. It is so good. It is one of the best airtime moments I think you can get on a roller coaster. But not to be ignored is this ejector airtime hill that comes right after it. It's not super high off the ground, so you shoot up and then you twist to the left, and that's when you enter this very fast-paced finale. You're right up in the structure there, very Steel Vengeance-esque, although this came first, so maybe Steel Vengeance is actually Ghostrider-esque. You have a twisted hill, a then straight ejector moment. You then get some great laterals as you're turning right below that original turnaround, dropping back down into another great airtime hill. Then you rise up and enter what is an absolutely crazy helix. This is some of the best laterals you can get on a roller coaster. It's not as good as like Legend at Holiday World. That's probably the most laterals on any ride, period. But this helix has got to be up there. This thing is crazy. You're just getting thrown to the left for so long, and then immediately after you exit, you hit a bunny hop into your brake run. The second half of this ride is so amazingly well paced. It flies through some really snappy turns that it is just one heck of a finale. So not only is it a great layout, but even after the coaster was retracked 6 years ago, Ghostrider is still smooth. It rode the exact same in 2022 as when I rode it in 2016. It feels no different, and that is incredible. That's how well GCI did redoing this thing, and that's how well Knott's Berry Farm has been upkeeping it. It's a long ride filled with some great hand and head choppers, and an experience you really have to do at night. I highly recommend this coaster during Knott's Scary Farm. The structure is lit up with some chaser lights, so it is illuminated a little bit, but there's just something about doing this coaster when there's like a bunch of fog out there. You feel like you're going even faster than you already were. If there was any downside to this roller coaster, it is the operations. The dispatches on this thing can be brutal. Because they removed the mid-course brake run, they have to wait for the previous train to hit the final brakes before they can send the next one out. So it's a rare sight to see them rolling trains. In my opinion, it's worth it. I'd rather have slow operations and a better ride experience. But you would think that with like Millennium Flyer trains, it wouldn't be that bad. I mean, like, I'm used to seeing like 30-second dispatches on Mystic Timbers. So I'm just not sure what happened here. It's part of the reason that this line is so long, but also because of its popularity. It's a wooden roller coaster that the average person can enjoy. Some wooden coasters are just so rough that it's only going to appeal to like certain people. This ride is universally loved, and I feel like that is so rare. The families can do it, and the thrill seekers are going to love it. So for its final score, I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. I just wish a couple moments were like profiled a little bit better to give some airtime, mainly like the first drop and also the drop off of that big turnaround there. But like, that's really nitpicky. Like, it doesn't actually bother me when I ride this thing. I just focus on the good, and the fact is that this ride is incredible. I would not blame anyone if this was their favorite roller coaster in California. You can absolutely make an argument for being better than rides at Magic Mountain, so I highly recommend getting out to Knott's Berry Farm and taking a ride on Ghostrider. Let me know down in the comments below if you've ridden this thing, if you agree with the points that I brought up, and of course stay tuned for more here at Coaster Studios, and I'll see you next time.